Hello, sysfailure here again. Welcome back to my Redstone Basics series. This is episode 5. Now, as mentioned in episode 3 and 4, this entire area I'm breaking up into smaller episodes for you, as I did record the whole lot in one go, and it was 45 solid minutes of information. So I'm just bringing it down to be a little bit easier. I'll also mention first off that all this area and the rest of the previous bits, which are over there, that will all be downloadable in the description of all these videos. Now, today we're looking at latches and also flip-flops. So first off, this is our RS NOR latch, so that's not OR if you remember from previous episodes. It's also known as a memory cell, as it will store a value until it's changed. So in this case, it's storing the output, which we'll call output 2, this one here. If I was to press this button here, you'll notice nothing's happening. And that's because it can't affect this torch from this input. However, if I come to our other input, so this is B, it now swaps what's going on. That's because when it provides the power here, it goes in and turns this torch off, which allows this one to turn on, and that then keeps the power running to here, which keeps it off, which then obviously allows this boot here. So no matter how many times you do this now, it has no effect. This is often used in stuff that you want to lock open in one-time use things, so a lot of people don't use the other output at all. So you'd maybe have some sort of trigger that when somebody walked over a pressure plate or something, that happened, activated something, and that would then stay like that, even though they've got off the pressure plate and there's actually no power coming in here anymore. That's actually just receiving it from there. There are different designs of these as well, but this is just one of the more sort of common ones. There you go. Now, this little one here, I absolutely hate trying to explain this thing. This is RS NAND, or RS NOT AND latch. Very few people use these. They do have some specialized uses, but I don't think I've ever actually needed to build one. Let's see if I can try and explain it, shall we? So if I turn this off, you'll see that one over there goes up and down. And this one makes that one go up and down. But when they're both off, these are both up. Now, let's turn them both on, and you'll notice it's actually locked in that state. This one's doing nothing. So if we do that, putting it up, it's now swapped them over. And this now has no effect. So this one now, make that one go up and down. And when that's off, I can make that one go up and down. So it's a horrible little device. It really is. I can't think of an easy way of explaining it. But you'll see with the right combination of levers, it swaps over how it works. So that what was up then becomes down, and what was down then becomes up. I'm really not going to go any more into it. As I say, it's a horrible little thing. Most people don't use it. But I would recommend build it from obviously seeing it there, and fiddle with it and see if you do have any uses for it. But you probably don't. So anyway, that's the RS NAND latch. This one, in a way, is sort of similar to a memory cell, and that's known as an input stabilizer with reset. Now, as you may know, if you run a redstone signal around and back into itself in a repeater, it will power itself continuously. So if I turn on my input, and it's then gone off again, the signal went through the repeater and the block, round the loop, back into itself, and it's now powering itself even though the input's off. So now we have an output. And it will stay that way forever until we flick our reset. And that just breaks the circuit, allowing the power to stop at this point here, and this drains away. So that's quite similar to our memory cell over there. Similar sort of thing. Now, this is a T flip-flop. I'm going to show you a couple of these. There are hordes of them, but I'm just going to show you a couple. And they work on the principle of they're a toggle. So this little button here, every time I press it, will change what happens to the output. So at the moment, there is no output. But if I press our button, I now have an output. And if I press it again, we now don't have an output. Now, this was actually one of the first styles that I ever built. What it is doing is powering the redstone up here, which turns the torches off. And the pistons don't really know about it because they haven't really figured out they should update. When the torches come back on, this one figures out it can push and pushes as this retracts. And this one doesn't figure out it's meant to push. And then the opposite happens. So it actually, in a way, relies on sort of glitching in the way of how pistons work. And it's just putting the block over this torch, so it powers that and comes out to the line. So that's fairly simple, little T flip-flop there. Now, another possible one, and I'll go into more of this part of the component in the next video, but this is another T flip-flop that when I power it, a signal comes in here and goes through this block into the repeater, but it also powers this piston, which cuts the signal off immediately. That allows one tick pulse to come into here, and sticky pistons, as you've seen with one tick pulse, will push a block and leave it there. So it'll push this out over the torch, which comes up through the block, powers the dust and powers the output. Next time we do it, it will pull the block back. So if we just hop over, there you go. So that's shortened our signal into a one tick pulse, and now we have an output. Do it again, and turns it off again. So that's quite useful. Now this little one, this is the Grisdale T flip-flop. I only really discovered these whilst doing a bit of research for these episodes. As it's quite new, it's literally only a month and a half, something like that old. But it works on the principle that when you power a dropper, it will also cause the dropper touching it to fire as well. Now, this little dropper here is the one that has a comparator detecting if it's got anything in it, which gives us that output. At the moment, this one, we have some sugar cane down here in the bottom dropper, so it's not detecting it. Give it a push, a little click there, and the item hops up into here, is detected, and gives an output. Press it again, and off it goes. As when this is fired, it sends it into the chest gets pulled out by the hopper, and the hopper passes it back into the bottom dropper, and our nice little loop. So that's quite compact. There's a slightly more compact version of it, which enables us to do funny little things like that. And if you watch carefully, nothing happens there, but there you go. I'll just do that again. That's it on, and then this one actually does away with the chest and puts everything in line, because hoppers can pick up items from anything that's not a full block above them. In some of my previous videos, I've done a trick where I had like a wishing well, and because it was actually half slabs, anything I threw in disappeared in the wishing well and ended up here. Obviously, comparator is not a full block. So it spits the item out, and as the item's travelling, it immediately gets sucked back into the hopper and put into the bottom one. Like that. It does it so quickly, I've never actually been able to stand next to it and grab the item, so I don't know if you can accidentally grab the item or not, but I've never managed it. But it does allow you to build nice compact ones like this, where you're just alternating where the hopper is, put them all side by side. And that's quite good if you want a quite compact readout of what you're doing. So that's T flip-flops. Now, these ones will take a little bit of explaining as well. These are the D flip-flop and the gated D latch. Now, these normally work on a clock, but I'm going to pretend this is a clock for this particular example. So, say our clock's not putting a signal in at the moment. I can send a signal through on and off as much as I like. However, when the clock comes along and provides power, it actually locks or latches it, like a gate, in the current state. So any changes that are made here will not happen to the output until the clock allows it through. So if the clock's now cycled around the opposite way, doesn't matter if we turn it on or off, only when the clock cycles will allow it to go out. So you could use that in sort of puzzles where you have to do stuff at specific times, and if you don't do it at the correct time, it won't allow it to affect it. So like buttons at the correct time. It's not quite so easy with levers, but this is just for demonstration purposes. Now the D flip-flop is a little bit different. So it flops the output as the clock runs round. So in this case, we just do that. The clock signal comes in and say our clock signal is now off. And it won't send it through until the clock signal comes back on again. Made another change. Clock signal goes off. Clock signal comes back on again. And that says it's running through an inverter here. It's just swapping these over, as you'll see. And that just swaps which one is locked. So it causes the signal to take its time going through the pair. So there are various uses to these as well, but we're just showing you the basic components. Now there's only a couple of bits left in this episode. Over here I actually have a sign for this. The reason for that is JK flip-flops and latches. In electronics, they are used really quite widely, as they can pretty much become any of the other types of gates that we've shown. So that makes them incredibly efficient. However, building them in Minecraft, when you're dealing with blocks sort of meter square like these, actually makes them quite inefficient. And more often than not, you're probably better off with one of these. That's why I'm not going into them. If you are interested in them, go check out the Minecraft wiki. Final little thing I want to mention in this episode, before we go on to pulses in the next episode, which will be the last in this section, is the monostable circuit. Now, here we have another memory cell. So it's another RS NOR latch. Slightly different look to the other one, but that's just so it doesn't cause power to sort of screw it up in the wrong way. But it's called monostable as it's only stable in one output. And in this case, that's producing no output. So if I was to push the button, it's gone back to not having an output. But obviously buttons turn off. So what if I put permanent switch? Obviously the output's gone on, but then it's gone back off again. And there's very clearly still power coming through here. That's a monostable circuit, only stable in one direction. So what's happening in this one is when we get power in here, it obviously turns this off, allowing that torch to go on and gives us an output. And if we just stuck at that, that's how it would stay. However, as we've got all these little repeaters, it runs round here. You can make this as long as you like to delay it. Comes in the back of here, and it becomes the other output on our RS NOR latch. So when that comes round there, it then causes the torch to turn off, turning off the output, and that locks it in place, even though we can have power still coming in. Like that, as that power has now locked it off permanently. It's effectively doing the job of what this would do to that one. And turning it off won't turn it back on again. There you go. So that was latches and flip flops and monostable circuit. Next and final episode in this section, we're going to be hopping through there, and we're going to be looking at pulses, pulse lengths, and the detection of different types of pulses, and that'll be it for this area. So anyway, thanks for watching, and bye-bye.